folks. Well, this is Brandon MorningStar tonight. I'm getting the honor and privilege of talking to Ryan Bailey from the band Broken Valor. How's it going, Ryan?
It is going great. Just looking forward to the show we got going on Saturday. It's going to be a packed, sold-out house, and privileged and honored to be able to open up for Puddle of Mud this Saturday at the 18th Street Pier in San Leon, Texas.
Very, very cool. Uh, are you the only band in support, or are there others?
No, there's other bands, some other local bands. We have a band called Unbroken, a Val Unbroken. I'm sorry, a Val Unbroken, Toad, and then another band that I haven't got the privilege to see yet called Blacklight Interstate. So very much all oriented around kind of radio rock. I think Blacklight Interstate's more blues driven, but very much all kind of around the same genre of music as Puddle of Mud. So it'll be a good night of rock.
Sounds like a good time. Is this the first time that your band's getting to open for somebody big?
Oh no, we have like I said, we've been honored to open up for bands like Puddle of Mud. Our first big national was with Hinder at Scout Bar in June of 2015, I believe. And
Hmm.
then we got to open up for Buck Cherry that following September, and then in October we opened up for Trapped, and then April this past year we got to open up for Candlebox. So that was a really awesome show, very much a throwback to the early '90s when I was just a little boy and listening to Far Behind on the local radio station. So we got to meet those guys and hang out with them for a little bit, and um, yeah, we've opened up for several nationals, and every one of them has been very special to us.
That's cool. What? How about you tell me a little bit about Broken Valor's the origin of the band name? How did it come about?
Uh-huh. It's kind of a funny one. The singer and I, Kelly Albright, we were, he and I kind of got together, and I put out a Craigslist ad, talking about wanting to, be in a band, and he had messaged me, and we kept throwing around these ideas, and he kept coming up with the band names, and we weren't set on them, and the word broken kind of kept coming up. Broken, broken this, broken that, and I was like, man, what can we do to make this sound really, really cool? And Valor, that word had always come up because my family, a lot of them were in the military, and my best friend was in the military, and so we kind of used that word, broken valor, and it just kind of stuck with us. And once we decided on that, we just stuck with it, and it turned out to be really good. And people always ask us how we come up with the band name, and it was just kind of by accident, but it sounded good to us, so we stayed with it, and it's been a good one. So.
Very cool, very cool. I like that. I like the origin of that name. That sounds really cool. And I thank you for the military service. If you have served, I appreciate that. As a military brat myself, I didn't serve, but I'm in a military family, so I totally appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah, our drummer, Kevin Mason, he's actually served in the Air Force, so um, you know that's always cool. He was not our first drummer, but he, our first show, our original drummer quit on us,
Hmm.
and we had 3 weeks to find a drummer. We weren't going to cancel our show, and he came on board. He had just got out of the Air Force, so he was digging the name too because of his service and whatnot. So it's kind of a neat story. It didn't really mean that we didn't do it on purpose, but it's really kind of served its purpose for us. So
Isn't it funny how some of the best stories from music, like yours and others, that ain't nothing's perfect, but it just happens to fall in place at the right time, even when crunch time hits.
yeah, it's just like Led Zeppelin, for example. That band name came because someone said that they were going to sing like a Led Zeppelin, like a blimp. So it's
Right?
just funny how people get their band names off of someone trying to be smart or someone trying to be cute, or us just trying to sound cool, and the things that we were trying to sound cool sounded cheesy, and then we ended up coming up with this one, and it just kind of stuck with us. So yeah, it's always interesting how band names kind of come together. Like Leonard Skinner, for instance, that was their gym teacher. You
Right?
know, and all they did was just take the words and replace some of the letters and replace them with Y's, and that's how that name came about. So it's always pretty funny.
Right. You mentioned that you enjoyed Candlebox as a kid and everything else. How about some of your other heroes musically? Who would you say they are?
You know, I mean, growing up as a child, my dad always had music, and none of my family plays a musical instrument. I kind of am self-taught, and then I took lessons later on. But my dad always had um, classic rock playing on vinyl in the house, and we always had Elton John and um, Barry White and Bad Company and Heart. So I grew up on '70s classic rock, and then believe it or not, like people like Michael Jackson, that's always been a big influence to me. I've always been a big fan of the Thriller album,
Mm-hmm.
then as I got older, Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, I had that album, but I think really what kind of did it for me was this the post kind of grunge, the what we termed alternative in the mid '90s, with Bush and Smashing Pumpkins, bands like that. I mean, I was a little bit too young to appreciate Alice in Chains and Nirvana and Soundgarden, even though I know who they are now. But I think like Bush and Smashing Pumpkins and bands like that, the beginnings of Seven Dust, those were kind of my influences growing up. Although I didn't play an instrument at that time.
Right.
Um, so, as I think I first started playing guitar when I was 18. I was a senior in high school, and Godsmack was really big. So that was my kind of beginnings of hard rock, was playing Godsmack tunes, and Metallica was huge. If you're a guitar player and you don't know how to play some Metallica, then man, but that's we used to sit there and go to Guitar Center and they would run us off because all we did was play For Whom the Bell Tolls and Enter Sandman over and over and over again until they got pissed off at us.
Right.
But yeah, those were kind of my the things I remember being kind of quintessential to my love for rock music. And you're talking about guitar heroes, and everybody kind of speaks about Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix and Randy Rhoads, which I love those guys. I was just too young or not even born whenever they came out. So my guitar heroes were the guys from like Killswitch Engage,
Mm-hmm.
and Unearth, and kind of heavier music. Those were my kind of guitar heroes.
Right.
Whenever I was a young man, and going into college, and that whole metalcore scene kind of blew up in the early 2000s. Those were the guys that I kind of mimicked and mirrored. And it's funny because those were, like I said, very metalcore, very heavy metal bands. And
Mm-hmm.
we're not a metal band. We're not a metal band at all. We're very much alternative, Breaking Benjamin / Seether kind of band. So it's funny how I've transitioned so much from being a metal player to a lead guitar player and let's face it, we're a radio rock band. So it's funny how that's worked out.
Now, this is something I ask only Texas musicians, so I'm going to ask you since you're a guitar player. Did the late, great Dimebag Darrell have any influence on you?
Oh, of course. I mean, my first Pantera album was Cowboys from Hell, and I remember that first song, with that lick, and it's memorable. But yeah, Dimebag was a great guitar player. I'm definitely not a shredder by any means, but I always appreciated his approach because he was very soulful.
Mm-hmm.
And his solos, I mean, he could do the most bone crushing riffs, and then the solo for Cemetery Gates is just mind blowing. It's just very soulful and very well put together and tasteful. So Dimebag Darrell was an awesome guitar player. He's easily in my top 10 as
Okay.
far as not just from being from Texas, even though I would like to think that's the reason why. But no, Dimebag was incredible. It's a shame that he his life got taken away from him so early.
I mean, and his death affected a lot of people. I mean, it affected so many people, not just
Oh
in
yeah.
mainstream, but in indie bands such as yours. I mean, it was like he was this generation's sort of Jimi Hendrix, if you will.
Oh yeah. If it wasn't for Pantera, there would not be, in my opinion, my honest, humble opinion, there Pantera kind of set the forefront for modern heavy music. I mean, with the very gruff vocals and the heavy riffs with the solos and stuff. I think they were definitely one of the main reasons why the newer heavy metal bands even existed. They're kind of the godfathers of that, just kind of like how Metallica was godfathers to them and Black Sabbath before Metallica. So it's always good to see people kind of carry the torch and pass it along.
Right? Uh, if you had the chance to open for bands that you haven't opened for yet on the national scene, who would they be?
I'd like to speak for the band, and I know Breaking Benjamin is a band that we would all agree that we would want to open up for. Seether would be another one, just because there's so much to like us as far as our sound to theirs.
Hmm.
Seven Dust would be another band that I would really like to open up for, just because they kind of brought weight to that drop beat. We play in drop beat tuning, and they kind of initiated that, at least in my point of view. Um, I try to be smart business wise and play and want to open up for bands that would benefit us, and we would actually be able to grow our audience. And so sometimes we play for lighter bands, like we open up for Hinder, and we're definitely heavier than them, but um, you know, open up for so maybe a little bit heavier band would be kind of cool too.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, those three that I mentioned would be the ones that if I were to pick my next group of bands and say this is the bands that we want to tour with, we want to target with, it would be Breaking Benjamin or Seether or even Chevelle. I forgot to mention Chevelle. Chevelle would be another band that we'd like to open up for if we ever got the chance.
Okay. Um, have you ever gotten a chance to open in a big arena yet?
No, not a big arena. The biggest venue that we have played at that is sold out is Scout Bar, and
Okay.
that's a very legendary venue in South Houston. Um, a guy named Thomas Wilson runs that place, and he used to play in a band called The Hunger, who had some radio success. So he's got some pull, and there have been I believe the 3 out of the 4 national shows that we played at Scout Bar have sold out. So
Nice.
I think that maximum occupancy is 600 or 700. I'm not sure, but no like big arena rock anything like that. But we've definitely played in front of sold out crowds and played in front of 600 people, and it's it's an experience. It really is. I can't believe some of these guys opening up for thousands of and playing in front of thousands of people. That would have to be absolutely breathtaking.
Right. If you
But
had to pick an arena or a venue that you'd love to play someday with your band, where would it be?
man, that's a there's there's so many of them that right now I can't even think of one off the top of my head. Um, I mean, let's keep it simple and say we NRG Stadium here in Houston. I think that I think if we were going to kind of set the standard, set the precedence, I would like to open up for a band or play in a band, play at a show in my hometown.
Right.
I think that would be kind of cool. Um, there's so many legendary venues that it's really hard to just pick one. But I think just to kind of keep it simple, I think I think NRG would be really neat, or maybe Verizon,
Right.
if they call it that now. So there's a couple of them here that would be bigger on a bigger scale than Scout Bar. But yeah, I mean, just kind of keep it simple. Maybe somewhere in Houston that would give us a little bit more exposure.
Right. Okay. Um, when you guys do cover music, could you name one or two bands and songs that you guys really get into when you cover them?
Well, I mean that's kind of a funny thing you ask because we don't really do cover music. We played around with like a Breaking Benjamin tune. or what else? I think even like a Chevelle, but we've never played cover music actually on stage. Believe it or
Okay.
not, all of our songs are very much 100% written by us and all original. I've played some Deftones before and jacked around with that, but really, when we're playing live, it's never cover. We always play our own stuff and have managed to do really well with that.
Well, I've got to say that original material is majorly kick ass and awesome. I will say that
Well, I
for you.
appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's a lot of work, and having four guys that sometimes we all don't get along with the music, or one guy has his opinion, and it's very much a democracy. And sometimes you have to bite your tongue and swallow your pride, and know that it's for the betterment of the band. If everybody's happy with it, and you just have to suck it up, and it's definitely an interesting dynamic, writing music, and fortunately, our singer Kelly Albright, he's a really good, he's a very talented songwriter, very talented musician, and he has a lot of ideas and stuff that he brings to the table,
Hmm.
and and we base it off that. So that's how it works out.
Um, what would you say to a person that may know what you're saying, your style is, and how you replicate certain acts or whatever? What would you say to the person that needs to would have to get a clue so they understand where your music's coming from so they can appreciate it more?
I mean, honestly, it's a lot of it has to come from our singer's lyrics. He's very passionate, very yeah, I wouldn't want to say emotional because we're trying to act like we're badasses here, right? But very much in tune with his feelings, and but then you know applying that with like lower tune guitars and very much like high gain distortion, but with great clean singing, lots of headroom, very very open. That's one thing I can say about our singer is he's very he got a great voice on him, and he can scream with the best of with him, but his niche is very great, open, big singing and good lyrics that
Right,
people can relate to. People that can relate to. That's something that I've always been very pleased with is that he writes lyrics that people can relate to.
right,
And then that's one thing that I've always liked is that when people hear a song of ours, someone will say, well, I felt that way, or I never looked at it that way, and it could be a love song or something like that, but it's got some kind of an edgier sound to it. So that's what I think what we always try to get out to our fans is that we can cover a wide range of music. We have a ballad. We have a very pretty ballad with a little pretty guitar solo, and then some of our songs have what we would call a very heavy breakdown. And
right.
that we don't bring it. So we cover a wide range of people, and we've been able to play with a
Hmm.
wide range of bands because of that. So I think that we have something for everybody. To answer your question, is we've got it. If you like music, we've got something for you.
Okay, so what? So basically, it's relatability with shared life experience. So it makes the show go so nicely that people can relate, like you're saying, with your lyrics and just your style. And that was going to lead into my next question: is how do your audiences draw energy from you?
It's our live show. The movement and switching stages, and Kelly is very animated with his hands, and does a lot of things with his hands, and people get into that. You have to engage the crowd. You can't just stand there and not move.
Hmm.
People mirror your actions. So if you're on stage having a good time and smiling and getting into it and giving your all, people are going to appreciate that and they reciprocate that and they mirror that energy. And that's just the way it is. It's just like speaking on the phone with somebody. If you're happy and smiling on the other end, people can pick up on that, and therefore they mirror that as well.
Right.
So I think that that's very much a necessity when playing live,
Hmm.
because you're not only using your ears, you're using your vision, your eyes to look and see what these people are doing, and seeing how they are on stage and how they're reacting with the crowd. It's very much a give and take with the crowd. Um, I'll tell you right now that some people, are very uh, shy, or have stage fright, but our singer, he does best when he's playing in front of 600 people, because he just feeds off that vibe, that energy that people bring, and when they're digging his stuff and his music, he takes it personally and he gives it 110%. And his best shows are in front of large groups of people, and they
Hmm.
always have been.
And would you say that's the same for yourself? That you enjoy those bigger crowds as opposed to the smaller ones?
Oh, I do too, just because I'm an attention seeker. But no, I mean, yeah, I think that we all feed off that. I think once we've kind of gotten past that fear of playing in front of a large group, I think that we've become so used to it. And I don't say that to be boastful or bragging, but we've become so used to playing in front of larger groups. When we play with these big bands, is that we would actually prefer that, because when people are getting into it, it makes us try and work harder. I mean, when we see people getting into our music, it makes us want to play even harder, and just leave everything out on the stage, because we're so appreciative of people, being there and supporting us and buying tickets from us and buying shirts and whatnot, that we want to leave it all out, every time that we play. So I'm very much like that as well, and I can speak for the rest of the band and say that they're like that too. I mean, really, we all feel that way.
Well, you guys, I don't look at it as boastful and bragging at all. You guys definitely have the sound. I can only imagine what you're like live. I hope someday I get the honor and privilege of seeing y'all live. That would be like,
Well, come on, we'll put you up, man. Come on down, and we'll show you a good Texas Southern time here, and we'll have fun. But um, we're just a four piece, and we're just a bunch of guys that just like to play music, and we all have day jobs, and
right.
luckily we get to do this on the weekends, and have fun doing it, and get to do some really cool stuff. So it's been very much an exciting thing for me to kind of get back into, um, you know, into my 30s. I'm
Right.
33 right now, so it's definitely something that I've enjoyed.
Hmm.
Um, being able to support this hobby of mine, as to as to being a kid and having all that ambition and energy, but not having the fun to have nice gear, and have the equipment you need in order to be good and sound good.
Right.
So I've been able to take advantage of the hard work I've done in my professional career,
Right.
and be able to apply this, and use my marketing skills and things like that to promote our band. So that's one thing I've felt that I can contribute more than my musical ability, is just a good business aptitude
Right.
towards it. So it's been a lot of fun for me, and I enjoy it. So
Y-
it's good stuff.
Well, I can appreciate the Southern hospitality thing and the Texas hospitality thing. I'm originally from Texas myself, so I know the
That's
hosp
right. So you know what's up.
I do know what's up. My
All right.
one of my last questions for you, since you mentioned fun and the inner kid was in everything else, what would you say when you're not playing music and you're not slaving away at the 9 to 5 job? What do you do for fun?
You know, honestly, well, if you're from Texas, then you know about going to like New Braunfels and the Hill Country and going tubing and stuff like that. I
Right?
enjoy I enjoyed that during the summertime. It's always something I do every summer is do that. But a lot of it, honestly, is just hanging out and having fun with my buddies, and um, just kicking back and maybe going to see another band's play, and drinking a beer every now and then, and I like to work out, when I can, and that's something I've kind of gotten into, and just relaxing and having fun, and during the week you work hard, and you put in your time, but the weekends, I really try to relax and to wind down and do that. You know, barbecue or grill. Man, I love doing that and having people over and doing that. So that's kind of that's my escape
Right.
from you know the band. The band's hard work, and anybody that says that being in a band is easy, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of social media time and promoting your band and selling tickets and doing all that stuff. It's a lot of work, and you know the amount of time I put in definitely doesn't equal you know monetarily what we would get. You know, if I worked a you know a 9 to 5 job, you know I should you know I probably should stick just to working my 9 to 5 job, but it's fun, you know, and so you know I don't mind doing it. It's more than just a hobby; it's a passion. So I don't mind doing it, but you know the other stuff I listed earlier is definitely things I like to do on my off time.
Right. Along those lines, since you mentioned Larry before we started the interview here tonight, that page that I made for you, you are more than welcome to post to anything you want in there on that Facebook page that I put you in with my rough cut
Oh,
campaign.
for sure. Well, let me tell
Anything
you
y'all
something
want.
cool. Let me give a shout out to my one of my best friends, Larry Gilstrap. When we first started, we looked up to those guys in 12 Years Driven, and Larry taught me a lot about the business and showed me how to hustle and showed me how to work, you know, and what it was like to if you wanted to be a big band and play for this stuff and you wanted to be appreciated and respected, that you actually had to make believers out of people. That was one thing that he told me that always stuck with me and resonated with me is that, you know, Ryan, he said, sometimes you just have to make believers out of people. And
Mm-hmm.
that will forever stick in my mind. And Larry has become, you know, a mentor. You know, now he's just become just a really good friend of mine, and I owe him a lot. So if whoever's listening to this, if you guys haven't checked out 12 Years Driven, they're a really great hard rock / metal band in Houston that we absolutely love playing with, opening for, whatever the case may be. We always, no matter what we're doing, we always stop what we're doing to play with those guys because they understand it, they get it, they understand about hard work and being good to people, treating people with respect, you know, and always being humble. That's one thing I can always say about those guys is that they're very humble and they respect and love their friends, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I've taken it upon myself to be a sponge and to watch. And so I know you know Larry very well, and
I do.
he's a great guy. I love him to death, and like I said, I'm their biggest fan. I don't want them to know that, but I'm their I'm 12 Years Driven's biggest fan, and it's not only because of their music; it's because of the people. You know, over the past 2 years, I've gotten to know those guys very well, and they're just great guys, and they're the guys that you can hang out with and go watch, you know, Sunday football with them and go to Hooters and eat wings, and they're just the most fun people that you know. So that's my shout out to them. I hope they hear this, or I hope you send this to them, Ben. And
I will. Don't you worry.
yeah, let them know. Even if you cut off the very end of this tidbit and send it to Larry, I hope he hears it. So
Oh, he will because once I get I do all my with all my interviews and everything. They'll go on they'll go on my YouTube channel. They'll go on the magazine's YouTube channel, and they'll go in the magazine. So he'll definitely hear it, see it, and read it.
well, make sure you tag him if you do it on Facebook or something. Make sure you tag him. I'm pretty sure I'll get a message from him saying, call him, you know, saying something ignorant to me just because they mess with me a lot. But
Oh, and he's a
we're
goof too. Oh my God, dude,
uh,
he made me laugh so hard the other when we after we were done interviewing, had me howling laughing.
he's a funny guy. Those guys are a bunch of clowns, and if you give them any kind of ammunition or say something stupid or whatever, they're gonna hound you for at least 2 weeks on it on Facebook and make fun of you. And so you just have to know that if they like you, that's what they're gonna do to you. So
I know from personal experience I detonated, so to speak, a proverbial verbal landmine in front of Larry once. 2 months later, he was still harassing me, but in a good way, of course.
Yep. Yep. But you learned though, didn't you?
I definitely did learn. He
Yep.
took that ball and ran. I mean, ran. My last question tonight, the toughest one I ask every band for the person that would want to sign you to a major deal, not exclusive like or anything to try to control you, but to give you that contract so you can record new stuff or so you can get out in those big tours. What would you say to that person to convince them to sign you and your band?
It's that simple. We're willing to put in the work. Um, and it's not nothing is given to you for free. You have to earn everything that comes your way.
Mhm.
And that sometimes you have to create opportunity, but you don't create opportunity by sitting on the sideline. If you want something bad enough, you go get it. You have to be your own cheerleader. And
Mhm.
I think that if someone were to give us an opportunity, it would be because we've worked really hard and that they saw that.
Mhm.
And I think that actions will always speak louder than words. And if you're doing what you have to do, you can be the greatest musicians on earth. But if you're not out there promoting yourself and hustling and doing what you have to do to make a name for yourself, then you're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to tread water,
Right.
and eventually you'll drown. So I think that you have to always make sure that you remind yourself that you have to work hard, no matter what level you get at. There's always that feeling that keeps getting higher and higher as you grow and grow as a band. And I always tell my guys in the band is, they wanted to create this monster, but as that monster gets bigger, you have to continue to feed it. So I
Mhm.
always tell the guys, I'm like, let's feed this monster. We got to keep feeding it. It's going to keep growing. It's going to get hungrier. And the more you
Mhm.
feed it, the bigger the appetite's going to get. So I think that hard work is something that I can attest to, and I can genuinely say without a doubt that that's what we do is we work really hard, and someone who appreciates that will pick us up and say these guys work hard and work, and they're professional, and that's something that they would want to be represented by as a band like us. I would hope.
Well, seeing that if I were if I were that executive, you'd get the deal because yourself and other musicians have all answered with the same answer in a roundabout way. The blue collar work ethic to succeed and drive and hustle and just continue to, like you said, feed the monster. So if I were that executive, you'd be signed tonight.
Well, thanks, man. Hopefully you get that job, so we can let's get the contract going,
Well, the thing of it is, I would have so many Texas bands to sign, I'd have writer's cramp.
Yeah, we'd just be a Texas only kind of label then, huh, Ben?
Pretty much, that's how it would be. And here's the thing, too. Speaking of Texas, I want to let you know, I'm not sure when the date's going to be, but I will give you plenty of heads up as I'm going to give all my Texas bands a heads up. I'm going to do one of my shows. It's going to be all Texas bands, local and some ones from yesteryear that are or currently going. Like, for example, Texas Hippie Coalition, Pantera will
Oh
be in
yeah.
that show, Wasp will be in that show, various different bands will be. But you guys will be in that show too, just so you know.
Well, just let us know what's going on. We'll get you hooked up.
All right, man. Well, Ryan, I do want to thank you for your time tonight. I know you've been busy, and I'm glad we finally got to touch base on this interview, and I'm looking forward to future interviews and more music. Man, that first set of stuff, my ears.
Yeah. Well, I've got our EP. I'm sending your way. I told you I'd mail it, but we're also recording. We're in the studio right now. We're working on our new EP. It's going to be a 5-song disc. When we're recording with Brad Lambert out of Psychonaut Studios. He did our last EP. We were really happy, and we've given him the controls to create our new our new CD, so we're looking forward to that. So hopefully that will be released maybe by the end of the year. We're in the middle of tracking drums right now. I think this weekend we're going to finish tracking drums, and we're going to be working on bass,
Mm-hmm.
and then guitar parts, and then lastly vocals. So
Right. Right.
hopefully we'll get that out and have some new music for people. I know that I'm ready to kind of release some new music. It's been too long, so.
Right. Well, one last thing. I just want to say good luck and have a great show with Puddle of Mud when you
Oh,
guys.
well, thank you. We're looking forward to it. I'll see you some pictures on Saturday. It's supposed to be sold out, so I'm really looking forward to it.
And where did you say this was at again?
This is it's basically by the ocean. It's in San Leon, Texas, which is near Kemah.
Uh-huh.
The place is called 18th Street Pier,
Right.
and it's right on the water, and it's a really cool venue. We've never actually played there ourselves, so this was like our first big opportunity to play there. So we had to open up for Puddle of Mud, and this is the first time we played there. So we're really looking forward to it. It's going to be some new people that have never seen us before, and it was just a good, smart decision for us as a band to take this show. And I've been very pleased with the response that we've gotten thus far
Mm-hmm.
from it. So.
Well, that's awesome, Ryan. Again, thank you for your time. I will give you a heads up when all this stuff's going to be put to the magazine and everything else, and then we'll talk about the promos down the road. How's that?
Yeah, for sure. Yes, thank you so much, Ben. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for taking the time out of your night to give us a shout out down here in Texas, and we'll keep representing you. Okay.
Dude, I'm true to my horns. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. I feel you. Well, make sure you let Larry know we had this conversation and tell him to back off a little bit for me.
Back off? Yeah, I'll tell him.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell him a cattle prod will be in his future. Maybe he might listen this time.
He's the one that has the cattle prod. You're not getting away from that. So.
Well, maybe I'll get an industrial grade one. Maybe he might back off, admit it.
Yeah, right. That's
All right.
a big one. That's Larry Gilstrap for you. So, well, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
All right, Ryan. We'll talk again soon, man.
Thank you, Ben.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Frozen, stuck in slow